Welcome to the Illustrator Pen Tool tutorial. So open up Illustrator. When you have Illustrator open, either open your existing project, of course, or you're already working on it, or to begin a new one, select File, New. Okay. Default preferences are fine. Hit OK. Now, this is our finished product area, our print area. However, we can work anywhere. You can see this is quite a large space. This rectangle represents 8.5 inches by 11 inches. We've got plenty of space to work on overall. So we'll just move this over to the side, and if we haven't already brought in an image we're going to work on, we can do that now. Just select the image, drag it right into Illustrator. It'll take a moment or two to load. Minimize that, maximize this, and we have our image. So now that we have our image, we will begin working with the pen tool. And what we need to do is have two separate layers that we're working on. So in our layers menu, it may pop up like this default, or it may be in here in your toolbar. It looks like these three horizontal planes with transparency. You can just click on that, drag it out. If you don't see it here and you don't see it in this toolbar here, you can go to Windows and Layers, and this will pop out. So we select on Create New Layer. Our image is on Layer 1, and that's noted by this color here, blue. When we select this image, you can see blue lines come upon it. Also, in this mini frame, you can see that there is content in here. So we have the layers. We can work with these options here, clicking. You can see there's a visibility right here, invisibility, visibility. There's also a lock, a little lock appears. And when I have that locked, I cannot draw on this layer, I cannot move this layer, nor can I select anything on this layer. So we have layer 1 locked. Now we need to select layer 2 so we can begin working on it. And here's our toolbar. And again, this may be docked over to the left hand side when you first open up. You can pull this out, and if you don't see it at all, or if you accidentally close it, go to Windows and Tools. Okay, so we're working on two layers. We have our first layer locked, and we have our toolbar. So now what we need to do is decide what level of detail we're going to provide. You always start with the essential lines that you want to add. In this instance, I'll be doing profile lines of these figures, including major gestures. I'll be leaving out facial details. For now, I may put them on an additional layer. But the hand gestures are very important to the storytelling. You can see each hand here is doing something. Additionally, for now, I will be leaving out the architectural details. However, they are very important, and I will add them to an additional layer. So when I'm selecting for my first point, I'm looking for a definite area, the beginning of a line. I might begin right here at the neck and come down, or even with the halo. So what we'll be doing is selecting the pen tool. You select the pen tool, a fountainhead pen, appears. And just right off the bat, I'm just going to make some indiscretionary lines just to see what my effects are. The default effects brings this fill area into view, and for this first project we do not want a fill area. However, if you're comfortable with this and it fits in with what you're doing, it can be quite more advanced. For now, we're just going to focus on line drawings. So in the toolbar, I can notice these two squares down here that are overlapping. One is fill and one is stroke, and they stand for fill color and the stroke fill color. So I'm going to select the fill color, and every time we select one of these boxes, this color menu pops up. And so you have the choice to assign different colors to either the fill or the stroke. Likewise, if I choose the stroke, I can choose different colors for the stroke. So what I want for now is to have no stroke at all. So we can click this no color or no content. And then we have no content. The color of your stroke can be any color. Whoops. Let's get back on stroke here. The color of your stroke can be any color. It needs to be visible to you as you're working, so if you have a very dark picture, perhaps a black stroke will not work for you, and you might want to pick, for example, a light stroke. I am going to stick with the default black. And I'm going to select, using my selection tool, just select this practice line that we made and hit delete. So I'm ready to start making my first lines. And I will tell you beforehand, if you want to get comfortable with the pen tool, go ahead and take it to some blank space and just practice. And note that if I click once to have a start anchor, and I click again to have a second anchor, that constitutes a line. I can go ahead and click a third line, and by clicking you'll notice that I have these straight corners. But our shapes are going to be mostly organic, and we're looking for curved lines. So again, I can click once and I'll have another straight corner. But the key is when I click again and hold, it turns this anchor into a Bezier anchor. And you'll notice two handlebars come out the side of this anchor. And as I move the mouse around, it manipulates the anchors, determining the angle and magnitude of the curve. So if I let go and come back for my next anchor and I click and hold again, you can say it makes another set of handlebars, another Bezier curve anchor point, and it also takes into consideration the previous anchor's information. So you see this curve is influenced by my previous anchor point's information. So that might limit you, and you might need to know that that will limit your influence on that you have over this particular curve. I'll show you a way around this next. So we'll let go. If we click again and hold, let's say I don't want the influence of this previous anchor. So what do? I'm going to finish that, but I don't want that curve, so I'll go to Edit, Undo. And what I want to do is start fresh from this point here. So how do I do that? Now again, if I just click, it'll continue on this path. So what I'm going to do is deselect the curve, and now select the pen tool. I'm going to hover, I'm going to zoom in, and if you can see, when I hover over these points, it's going to be, gives me a little X and it says path, or here I have nothing, here, and then anchor. I want to click on that anchor because I want this line to be connected. So I click, and now I have my first point that's connected to the end of this line. Now I'm going to click and hold, and you can see now I have a curve that is not influenced by my previous curve. So I'll click and hold now that I have the curve I want. But you can see this is not evenly smooth right here, and I do want it to be smooth. So I'll introduce you to our second tool. It is the Direct Selection tool. We'll use the Direct Selection tool to select individual anchor points and also individual handlebar points. So I can select the anchor and then move it, as you can see. And I can also adjust this handlebar. But it's not quite doing exactly what I want. So in fact, I need to convert this anchor point to a double handlebar Bezier curve. And that'll introduce you to a component of the pen tool. It's the Convert Anchor Point tool. So I will use the Convert Anchor Point tool that looks like this caret. And I will click and hold on this anchor. And I'll go back in with the Direct Selection tool and adjust this curve. Now that might have been more complicated than I need it to be. So let's find out here if I can just go back and see if this in fact can be simpler. So let's go ahead and delete this anchor. Okay. And now we'll deselect. And to get back to my pen tool, I have to click and hold, bring back up the pen tool. Okay. Now that I have this pen tool and I'm selected on anchor, instead of simply clicking once, let's click and hold. Okay. And then click and hold a second time. Okay, that seemed to work better. So that's much more of a smoother line. I can fine-tune it with my Direct Select tool. There we go, and adjust it just a little bit better. So we see with the pen tool we can actually click and hold the first point and click and hold the second point. And that's probably going to work better for us. Okay, after we've taken the time to get familiar with the pen tool, let's start placing lines onto our painting. Okay, I'm going to choose a spot that I'm comfortable with. This right here at the base of the neck and the head looks great. We've got our first point. You can see it didn't work out so well. I'm just going to delete that. Click a single point here. One click. And then I find all the way down to the top of the hill. I like to start